Hello and welcome to a Christmas episode of Real Horror Show. I am Conor McMahon and I'm joined by
Conor Dowling,
Mark Sheridan,
Ali Horror.
Yay, the gang call here. What have people been watching before? I mean, we were going to talk about haunted house movies in a bit, but I suppose just to kick off, have people watched anything? I've watched a couple of things.
What have you seen so far? Because
Okay.
I've watched a few things too.
Yeah, so Creep 2,
Oh,
for anyone
yay.
who loved Creep.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it.
Yeah?
Like, for anyone who didn't see Creep, it's a film by Mark Duplass, who's the actor in it. I mean, what was great about that is there's just two actors, basically, in the whole film. And I just think his character is, you know, it's just on the edge of, do you believe him or do you not believe him? It's this kind of creepy thing. And also, just when you think, I suppose, found footage is sort of saturated and there's nothing more you can do, then, you know, I thought that one really worked. So I loved Creep, the first one. So I was curious about what they could do differently, and they really play on the first one and the expectations of the first one, but kind of twist it.
Am I right? Is it someone trying to make a document? Like, she's aware of the first film and...
Yeah, exactly. Well, no. She's got her own kind of podcast thing that's not doing very well.
Yes.
And he, I suppose, reaches out to people.
Gotcha, yeah.
And he kind of tells her up front, you know, I'm a serial killer. You know, this would be great for your podcast, kind of thing. So, but she doesn't really believe he's a serial killer. But the bit that's brilliant about it is seeing Mark Duplass, Aaron, I think is the character's name, seeing him, all the tricks that worked in the first one, like he used to jump out and scare people and do all this, and he's doing all that stuff, and it's not working. And she's almost as crazy as him. Okay. And kind of seeing the two of them come together is quite fun.
After seeing the first one, you kind of wonder, how could you even do a sequel to that? Because it's such a stripped back movie.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't really give you much to go on for a sequel. But that's really interesting. I never would have thought of doing it like that.
Okay, we've got to give that a check out then, because like, yeah, it's a funny one even when you're saying about the whole found footage thing and where you're going to go, because like I know I stand a bit more still somewhat nostalgic and enjoy in kind of found footage films probably more than you, but we were recommended to watch a found footage film. We were offered a screener to review a horror film very kindly by the filmmakers. It was a French found footage film called My European Dream, kind of / My European Nightmare. And yeah, it's a funny one. I'll get through it very quickly because I think of all the four, I'm the only one who wasted his time watching it.
Don't say that.
No, look, you know, it's a funny one because I do, in the weird way that Connor, you find yourself so jaded and bored of the found footage, like the general kind of genre. Like,
I like found footage.
I kind of prefer.
I like found footage.
No, but I know, but like,
say.
you know,
well,
like
it's done right.
The traditional approach. Like, I think the reason you enjoyed found footage 3D and say Creep was because they did something a bit different with it, as opposed to. And you know, it's the same as some people love zombie films and they want a straight up zombie film. Some people want a twist on it. You know, so it's fine to go either way. This film is apparently took like 2 years to get it released. You know, for unexplained reasons, but it's like one guy shooting himself at the beginning. Actually, I have a picture on my phone to show you guys. Like, he literally has a handy cam taped to his head and a microphone on the other side and a kind of a camera facing him, and it's just him going around Paris. But if you can imagine,
not shooting himself dead.
No.
Shooting as in with
himself.
a camera.
Oh, I thought you meant you shot. I was like, oh, that's clever.
I was like, that's so amazing. Like, we actually see like a GoPro up beside his temple while he shoots his brains
it's
out.
literally like
I was
a
all
handy cam.
over
You'd
that.
imagine your
So
parents.
I'm going to take that.
So Mark, after he shoots himself in the head.
I think I'm overselling this film. But you know, it's a weird challenge of found footage where actually I would go against. This film goes very much for that whole notion of trying to make it totally real. If you know what I mean, like, so it's trying to have completely rawness, but because of that, like, the first 30-40 minutes are the most incredibly shaky, blurry, irritating kind of images with not good sound and screaming and shouting and everything, and it's just, you know, and the editing and everything, there's no real flow to it. And I know you could argue that is being true, but yeah, I think, you know, it's like everything, it has to be entertaining and working as well. And it's about like the the whole him going from he's this guy who's from I think a made up country near Russia that sounds like Serbia but isn't, and he's going to go around Europe and find the European dream and everything, but he just stays in Paris because obviously that was the budget of the film. And it's all about like how you start off believing that Europe is wonderful, and eventually people start attacking him, and he loses all his money and he eventually descends to madness, and later on I don't want to spoil it, but there is a little bit of gore later on, and it goes a bit crazy. The real problem with these kind of films for me is, I don't know, this is a very, very low budget film. So obviously, it feels like a lot of it isn't actors. And I get a little uncomfortable with some of that stuff. It's kind of in a Borat style almost at the beginning, because he's going around with his accent, And also, though, because he gets the camera robbed once or twice in the earlier stages, and his reaction while the guys are beating him up really sound very real. So either it was very well acted, but it actually feels like he just put himself in harm's way to actually get those things, which is kind of interesting, but it just... I love horror films, but for me the whole point is it has to have some sort of plot pace and actually be somewhat entertaining.
That's one of the whole ideas of found footage. It's like it looks like something like a home movie or something your mate's going to film, but it brings you through a story the way something you would go to see in the cinema would.
When it works, that's what it should be. Like even Creep is that. It is there is a proper story, and
the script is really tight.
And actually I think you probably need it even tighter than you would in a standard film if it's going to actually work.
It's the one thing I can say about that. You can feel that he was clever about the story, and you can feel the kind of beats and that relationship between the two of them builds, and kind of, you know what I mean? So there is a difference between just hope, going out there and hope, and
I think that's where people get really pissed off with this subgenre. Just whenever you start feeling like it is a bunch of friends who just sort of went, we can wing this, and whatever I get, I'll just put it together, and especially when it descends to people just screaming at a camera or anything like that, it's just
the audience will always know even if they don't know exactly why, but we feel like you're just being ripped.
I just find it so hard to watch. I don't know if you notice as well, like some of these online websites, like they seem to give some of these films pretty good reviews.
Ratings, I know.
Really good. And it's, I don't know, I of course everyone can have different opinions, and that's fine, but it just seems like this was getting 81 out of 100 and stuff like that, and
is this on Shudder or
no? It's not. It's actually literally just going out. I presume they're self-releasing it. I think that's really kind of why we were sent it and everything, and I really do applaud, I think all of us from working on films.
But I think with found footage, I think they get a bit of a bad rep because there's so many of them, right?
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, as an audience member myself, whenever I see something that is found footage, like I see the trailer for something, I'm interested. I want to see that, And I think it's probably because there's kind of a guaranteed set of things that will happen in a found footage movie. There's a guaranteed aesthetic.
Well, like any genre, isn't it? Because it's funny, people for the last 10 years I've been hearing people saying when will found footage finally die? But in reality now, because Blair Witch was what, 1999?
Yeah.
So we're talking, this is coming up to a 20-year genre. So this is not, people need to get over the fact that this is a brand new thing that needs to go away. This is actually a very established part of the genre now, whether people like it or not.
As a genre, it did fall asleep there for a couple of years, and it didn't get brought back until did Rec come out first, or did Paranormal Activity come out first?
Rec was before Paranormal, I'm pretty sure.
Rec was phenomenal.
Yeah.
And I have to say, I am a big advocate for the very first Paranormal Activity.
I put it on my haunted house list.
Good call.
Good one. Yeah.
For me, 1 and 3 are actually really good ones, and actually, and the other, 2 is fine.
2 is fine.
And they do drift dramatically.
There's one with the Hispanic kids.
That's the marked one. The 5th one. That is actually.
I haven't watched that one. I have to say, I haven't watched it.
So, did anybody watch anything else? I've 1 or 2 other films.
Well, aside from films, a couple of things that I saw recently, horror-wise. There's this great podcast called The Black Tapes. Has anyone heard of that?
No.
I haven't listened to it, but I've heard people talking about it, yeah.
Well written. It's basically like Serial, but it's fiction. So it's like a radio play. And it's about this podcaster who is investigating these unsolved paranormal audio tapes called the Black Tapes.
Okay.
And it's really good, I have to say. Some of the performances are kind of when you first listen, you were like, oh, is this real? And then some of the performances kind of throw you off and you go, okay, that's definitely someone acting. But the writing is so good. I'm just listening to it going geez, there's so much work put into this.
I'll have to give that a go.
Yeah. And the other thing was I was in London recently and I saw 2 plays.
Oh yeah.
One of them was, the reason I went over to London was for the Twilight Zone play.
Oh wow.
Which, it's not necessarily horror, but it's in that world of
Twilight
Zone,
sci-fi
kind of genre. Twilight Zone play was fantastic. It was so good. It was just really well written, and I kind of wondered, because Twilight Zone's an anthology, I was wondering how are they going to do this in a play, but the way they've done it is they've taken loads of short stories and woven them together
into one
essentially, into one big story, but they all kind of work as standalones as well. Really lo-fi, but I think it'll bring like the Twilight Zone to a whole new generation of people.
Awesome.
The other play I saw though was a bit more commercial. That was The Exorcist.
Tell me
Remember,
all
I texted
about
you
it.
guys saying, I'm going to see The Exorcist, because I always thought that The Exorcist would make a really good stage play, as in like the first few rows might get wet kind of thing.
When you say really good stage play, a good trashy thing.
I'm clearly a thespian, but I always thought it would work in a really intimate kind of setting, like just a really small audience kind of thing.
Yeah.
But it was a massive production, and it was incredibly cinematic. But it was the perfect example of when your script and your performances aren't good, it doesn't matter how big your budget is. It was just, they were trying to go for scares in like absolutely every single scene from the beginning.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it was a bit disappointing, but I was there by myself and actually ended up talking to this guy who was sitting beside me, and
You're not supposed to talk during
Yeah.
the plays.
Stranger danger, stranger danger.
It was before the play started. We were chatting away, saying he was really interested in seeing the play, and then at half time he's chatting. He's like, "Oh, I have to go into work later." I was like, "Oh, what do you do?" And he's like, "Well, I'm actually a priest, a Catholic priest in the church."
Was he wearing his collar?
No, he was.
You're allowed to.
To.
Had he lost his faith?
No, but I was like,
the power of Christ compelled him.
Like, are we like big into The Exorcist? And he goes, it's the only movie where the priest gets to kick ass.
No,
But the Catholic Church endorsed The Exorcist in the end, didn't they? Because it really did in the end serve them massive. Well, it's a great advertisement for it. It's be fearful of the devil. It's only
If Satan exists, then surely God exists.
Well, yeah.
And can I just say one thing? When you said there about priests kicking ass, was Danny Trejo not a priest in something? Or yeah. But on the subject of horror plays, Connor and myself went to see Let the Right One In.
Oh,
which
what's that like?
is fucking deadly.
Yeah,
Am I allowed to swear? Fucking
would-
deadly. Whopper.
Now, I would say I loved the production of it.
Yeah.
The pictures looked amazing.
Yeah, I thought the stage was great. I did have a slight issue with... because obviously in the play they're kids,
Yes.
or they're 13, 14. So when you take kind of people in their mid-20s
And
who
have them,
act as children, it kind of comes across like there's something a bit wrong with them.
No, well, it came across, I felt like sometimes the acting was very panto-ish, like, oh, no, you didn't.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, I did.
Or it's a little like, and I don't know if it's an Irish...
wrong one in.
Or it's like, what's funny as well is, it's like that thing, when someone's playing a vampire, for example, and they feel the need to play it weird.
Yes.
And it's like,
Yes.
where it's like, just
Well,
be
hello.
just play it normal and natural. That's what kind of makes it a bit creepy.
Yeah.
Whereas it was all a bit, yes, okay, I will go over there. I will bite your neck now.
I am a vampire, don't you know?
Yeah, but she was so disassociated with society, so that's why she didn't know how to communicate properly.
Yeah, but there's probably a way to do that doesn't feel like she's disassociated with her performance.
Burn.
Okay, but
Child actor.
there was loads of blood. Like, there was loads of blood. I mean, like, it's
Yeah, it
great
looks-
seeing someone being, have their neck bitten and seeing loads of squirting blood everywhere. I mean, it's like,
That I'm interested in.
love it.
The scare was there was a
Oh,
brilliant
there wasn't a
scare.
yeah,
Don't spoil it.
and we won't. But there was this couple sitting beside me, and they were so like they had gone to see the wrong play, right? And
Well, see, they probably go to everything in the Abbey.
and they thought it was going to be great. And literally, the woman, I have never seen anybody so scared in my life. She's basically crawling up her husband, like
Nice.
trying to get out of the theater.
I saw there were a few older people in the thing, and I thought one of them was going to have a heart attack.
Yeah.
Because there's great scare in it. Like,
Yeah.
no, overall, like, the production is great.
Yeah.
I just-
And great to see her represented on the main stage.
Yeah, in the
Ireland,
Abbey.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll definitely go check that out.
There is some dancing though. I don't really like dancing.
I don't see where that fits in.
Exactly. A lot of dancing with trees and stuff, which you know.
wow.
Yeah.
But like, oh my god, wait,
Is that like the bit in the nativity where, like, you know, the person who's the tree is going to have a moment where they do something like, you know, in your school
Everybody
play?
gets along.
Yeah.
But like, there's this amazing scene at the very start, where they literally, where you know the old man who kills people to feed her, and he like strangles a guy, puts a loop around his feet, and literally on stage lifts him up so he's hanging upside down, and then he cuts his throat like a piggy, and it's amazing. Always wanted to see that.
No, you got me sold. And that's running for a little while more, I think, isn't it? So
Yeah, it's running until January, so any of you horror peeps, you should check it. It's really good. Or go over to London like Connor.
Tell them Ali sent you and you'll get a free discount.
Yeah.
And don't tell them Connor sent you, because that will be a problem, because he doesn't think it's good enough. Anyway, Ali, have you seen anything, or I've got a few things to talk about?
No, I've been working
As usual.
as usual.
No, it's someone keeping up this economy. Thank you, Ali.
But no, continue.
No?
Continue.
Well, no, it's actually just brief, because I don't really want to get too deep into them, but like on Shudder, Hammer House of Horror, the TV series has arrived, all the
I've seen all
episodes.
those.
Yeah, which I hadn't actually, so I've only watched the first 2 so far, but been really impressed with them actually.
There.
You know, like it's pretty, like I think, was it the late 80s, early 90s on ITV, but for horror television, like it goes there much more than I expected to, and kind of spooky, creepy story, so that's definitely something to watch
and a
out
lot
for.
of boobs as well.
Yeah, well, which I really didn't expect to see on British television at that kind of stage.
Yeah.
So that's definitely worth checking out. I kind of rewatched the Fulci films on, because you know they've got these lovely high definition transfers on Shudder, so it's like having the Blu-ray to some extent, not quite as good, but like it's amazing how well these films look these days. You know, because they were made so. But like, I was always Beyond fan. That was always the one I liked of the trilogy.
It's a great movie,
but actually, rewatching City of the Living Dead, I really, really enjoyed it this time. I don't know, it just that dream-like weirdness of it. It just really works, and the gore, like. Fulci has a grotesque and horrible way of splattering gore onto screen that it's effective. Like, even when you can tell it's kind of a slightly cheaper effect sometimes, it's still disgusting.
Yeah.
Like, he just goes that little bit further than we do. And it's not that, like, you know, Evil Dead, there's blood just running down the screen, but it's always like it's a spider biting someone's lip, or it's someone vomiting all their insides out in one shot, like, and you know it's just a fake dummy, but like the liver and everything is just squishing out through that mouth. So
I don't think I've seen those ones actually.
Oh, City of the definitely.
good.
Beyond City of the Living Dead, definitely. For me, the House by the Cemetery doesn't quite.
Yeah,
some people really like that.
It's okay, but it doesn't live up. I mean, like, The Beyond is such a striking movie that, you know.
Yeah, and it's
one of those hard to live up to kind of
I just remember City of the Living Dead, the guy stuck in the basement and the thing coming after him, and the scene must have gone on for about half an hour.
Yeah.
Like, what?
And I like the surrealness that Fulci brings to his films as well. It's like
which could be really annoying, but actually somehow you just kind of get lost in this weird world. Like, it does feel like having a nightmare.
Yeah, which is great, which is amazing.
And it's weird because, like, for me, he's made some pretty poor films as well, so it's one of those things where you do wonder whether some of them just happened to come together that way, or whether he really was a super talented person or not. But you can't deny the fact that these films still work today, and we're so jaded from watching horror films. It's pretty impressive for anything 30 or 40 years later to still actually have an impact. Briefly as well, I watched, have you ever seen a film called Offerings? It's a Halloween ripoff, one of the worst Halloween ripoffs I've ever seen, from 1989.
Is Michael Myers paranormal in it?
No, so it's not a direct ripoff. But no, do you know what? It literally has like a Halloween theme tune. Like, I had it on, and Kat came into the room. She was like, "Are you watching Halloween?" And I was like, "No." Like, that's how straight it is.
Wow.
You know, like in Halloween when Michael Myers comes home to his house, they find a dog that he's attacked. But in this one, the maniac goes to a duck farm and eats some ducks. They find some dead ducks. They're like, what kind of a sick person could do this to a duck? So,
Ozzy Osbourne?
It's honestly, it's not good enough to watch, and yet there's that kind of perverse fascination with some. And this is done, there's no tongue in cheek, but I didn't feel there was anyway. So yeah, definitely one to check out. And the other one for me actually is I watched the Exorcist director's cut, which I hadn't seen, the version you've never seen.
Oh, with the spider.
Yeah.
The spider
Now,
walk.
I'd seen these cutout scenes before, like on special editions, but I bought the Blu-ray of all of them the other day, so I'm kind of working my way through them. But what I was surprised with, so it's like an extra 12 minutes in the unseen version, and it's weird because they call it director's cut, but actually it wasn't Freakin', it was more Blatty wanted these in, so it's the writer and producer. And you know, like, they're all interesting scenes and they do work in the film, but for me, it actually totally took away. And I know some people prefer it as a version, but it's all these more kind of human moments, and for some reason that really broke the just kind of the relentless kind of directness of the first one, because the first one almost had a documentary type thing, because it didn't have any of the story, like, it was all just so trimmed down. It was just like these moments happening, and the people weren't talking about how terrible this is, or, oh, isn't it so sad. And I was just surprised at how much it changed the film for me. And like, I know director's cut changes things, but yeah, I don't know, like, interesting to watch, but I think the first one really is.
Is that the one with the flash frames and things as well?
Yes, he added in a load of those where...
the face things.
Yeah, but instead of just that one amazing moment, it appears on the side of the cooker.
Yeah,
there's a thing appears in the window, and you're just kind of going, oh no. It's like everyone had told you that was the best jump scare ever, and so you just put 4 more of them into your film.
But like, what I loved about that when I first saw it, like when I was a child, was that it was one of those moments where, is this subliminal messaging? Is like, did I see that? Was that supposed to be there? So yeah, if you see too many of those, it kind of
was
takes
that
away.
like that is, I still think, one of the greatest kind of scare moments. And it's not even like it jumps in, like, I didn't jump the first time I saw it. It just, you had nothing to prepare you for that face coming up at all. And it was so well done, because the shot before is his mother in the subway, so it's further away, so you're kind of focused in the distance, and then there's just something right in front of your face, and it's just and it's gone before you can react. So yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of working my way through the Blu-rays and all. I rewatched 2 the other day, which I desperately want to get John Boorman to do a director's commentary on, because I would love to. There's some really interesting visual stuff in that film. The film, it like, you know, it has a lot to desire in some ways, but like, he definitely was going for something, you know. And if you watch it again, there is some quite striking stuff. I'd just love to hear him explain what he was going for. But anyone else got anything?
I have one more film I watched, a film called Super Dark Times. Has anyone heard of it?
No, what's that?
Deadly.
It's
title.
It's
Bill
like,
and Ted's horror movie.
it's again a film. I suppose it's one of those films that people are putting into that Stranger Things sort of, you know, 80s vibe, kids cycling bicycles everywhere vibe. It's a kind of a cross between that, and I don't know if you saw Mean Creek.
That was good. The bullying kind of one. Yeah.
So it's kind
Stephen
of
Dorff, right?
Yeah, it's kind of, you know, it's one of these stories, group of kids, they're playing around with a samurai sword, and, you know, accidents happen, you know.
His head gets chopped off.
No, but
Does it still have the
No.
There's an unfortunate event.
Someone gets stabbed, you know. Anyway, it's
Where?
the truth.
Okay, I want to see it.
No, it's not graphic enough for me.
But it's more, I mean, the film is really more about them dealing with the aftermath of that. But it kind of has that, I like the vibe of it, it sort of reminds you of being a kid in the 80s, wandering around neighborhoods with no particular plan or what you're doing, and just sort of, you know, you call into a friend's house and suddenly you've got a samurai sword in your hand and one of your friends is dead.
Typical Sunday afternoon.
But it's kind of I like the vibe of the actors. It's very naturalistic, you know, the acting is very good. It's definitely a much slower pace too, you know what I mean? It's not
it's not a popcorn movie, like.
Yeah, but it's definitely worth a watch. Like, I would recommend it, you know, to see.
When is it from?
I mean, it was made this year.
Oh,
like,
okay.
yeah.
Oh,
It's
cool.
like a new movie.
Oh, class.
Or also Dark. Has anyone watched me?
No,
Dark?
the German
No,
Netflix series.
is it good?
A lot
I've
of
been
good stuff
meaning
I've heard
to.
about that.
I've seen just the first episode, but it was
People
really
say
good.
it's like the
I'm
adult
dying
version
to
of
see
Stranger
it.
Things
Yeah,
kind of thing.
yeah.
Stranger Things is for adults.
Yeah, I'm curious. I still haven't watched season 2 of Stranger Things. I did really like the first series. The problem is just because everyone else so amazingly loved the first series, it makes it look like I didn't like it, but I did quite, you know. But so I do want to get around to that. But yeah, Dark sounded interesting to me that it was gonna, just bring it to a slightly. You know, I've nothing against the younger kids thing, but it'd be good to see the adults.
And
side
plus,
of things.
it's German as well, so it's just, everything is very serious.
Yeah. Is it in German?
It is. It's the Netflix's
Deadly.
first German series. So actually, like, and what I love is you can see there's so many articles online where people kind of go and don't let the subtitles put you off, and it's just between that and say the Danish kind of crime series, it's because like people like us probably would watch foreign films and everything, but like there's a lot of people out there missing stuff that they would really, really enjoy with the assumption that it would be too much hard work. And these kind of ones can be gateways to opening up everything, you know.
One other thing I saw recently, and it kind of plays into our haunted house theme for this week. It was The Lodgers. I saw it.
I still haven't seen it. Were you at the IFTA screening?
I was
Was
at the
it?
IFTA screening the other night, and I'm probably
So I'm now the only one who hasn't seen The Lodgers. Yeah.
Well, I'm probably biased because I did work in the film, but I actually really loved it. I thought it was even better than I expected. Like, I had high expectations for it. I knew it was going to look really good. It was shot really well. But just the pacing I thought was brilliant, and it just kept building and building and building to this climax at the end. And there's a couple of set pieces in it that I just think are probably some of the best set pieces I've ever seen in an independent film.
Okay.
Yeah.
And like it's a film that looks like it was made for about maybe 5 or 6 million, but it was made for like less than 2 million.
Yeah.
Like they really just everyone worked so hard on it to make it as good as possible. But it's good. Like, it's not a straight up horror film. It's definitely not a horror film. It's more of
It's a psychological horror.
Is it supernatural
so.
chiller?
They're calling it a gothic ghost story.
Yeah, but that is a horror.
Exactly. It doesn't have to be a terrifying violent thing to be a horror film.
Yeah. Scary.
Like
exactly.
all of those BBC horror films were gothic. Gothic stories. Yeah.
Like, it's not particularly scary. I don't think it really sets out to be scary, but it definitely has a very dark and tangible atmosphere to it, and part of that comes with the haunted house that they shot in Loftus Hall, which is the most haunted house in Ireland, 666 years old when they shot the film.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And I'm not someone who particularly believes in ghosts or hauntings or anything like that, but I've never really been in a haunted house before. But when I went into that house, right, I showed up and they had been shooting for like a week or two. And I went into this room to put down my equipment and like my camera and stuff. And I just felt like when I came in the room, I was like, oh, there's someone over in the corner there. I must turn around and say hello to them. Like, I don't want to be bending over and showing this person my crack. Like. And when I turned around, there was no one there. And I was like, oh, that's weird.
They probably left the room when you...
I showed them too much. But there had been no one there the whole time. And then a couple of days later, I came in again to the same room and I felt that thing again. And then that turned out to be the very room where, the legend is like that Satan was there.
Oh my
Satan
God.
showed up and he was like, all right, lads, what's the crack? I'm Satan.
Is that the one with the hole in the roof?
The hole in the roof. Yeah.
I don't even care. Why aren't we doing a podcast in a freaking haunted house?
Oh yeah, we
Because
should
the
do that.
electrics won't work.
Yeah.
I know, we're more
Just
interesting.
pretend we are. We're live in the Hellfire Club.
We're live from Loftus Hall. Who's that over in the corner?
I'm telling you,
wow,
we
that's
should
scary.
go. We should go to Loftus Hall. We should spend the night. We should.
I don't think they want to have us.
Okay, well, I'll sweet talk
Like,
though.
don't you know who we are?
With
We're
a bottle
real
of
horror show.
wine and
But The Lodgers, really,
deadly.
really recommend it. I think it's going to be in the cinemas in the new year.
Great.
It's sold pretty well from what I've heard. It's a cool movie and it's really like different type of thing to what you'd see normally, I think, from Irish cinema.
Yeah, it's kind of a first, is it, for that kind of...
Yeah.
Certainly at that level, like
It's
kind
like
of
a
gothic
period film,
Yeah.
but it's also a kind of a horror.
It's
film
going
as
back
well.
to old school 60s horror, I think. And actually, while we're on the subject of Irish horror, is a shout out to Stephen Shields and Lee Cronin
Oh yeah.
for Hole in the Ground. They're doing pickups tomorrow, and guys, that is going to be one to watch.
Awesome sauce.
Literally going to be one to watch. It's going to put Ireland on the map as a Bloomhouse Island.
Wow.
A Blumhouse involved?
A Bloomhouse Island.
Island.
So
Okay,
not
you're
just a
setting up our own thing.
studio, an island.
Are Bloomhouse involved in Hole in the Ground?
No, not at all.
But no, it's...
I'm just saying like that. It is like when you think of Irish film, you don't generally think of, except for these guys, of like Irish horror, and it's
But isn't that cheap? Because even The Cured is coming out as well. I saw that there was an IFTA screening of
The
that the
which?
other day. The Cured, the Ellen Page zombie film.
Oh,
The Third Wave,
yeah.
Which I only saw an earlier cut of it, so I don't know what the final version of it looks like. But like, between that and The Lodgers, and if you got Hole in the Ground, like, it could be an interesting time for Irish horror films to kind of
you
actually,
guys, for horror directors.
well, fingers crossed, because at least all of these films are actually trying to establish, like, that these kind of horror films deserve a bit of attention and respect. You know what I mean? Like, and fingers crossed it can actually make people aware. And the fact that the right one in is being done in the Abbey and everything implies that there is,
an audience out
some sort of
there,
an acceptance out there that people do have an interest in seeing these things.
Well,
you know
I think,
what I mean?
and a lot of it is to do with quantity, in a sense, as in, like, the more stuff that gets made, the kind of more discoveries are made, or the more of an identity
Well, you grow
it starts
the
to
audience.
get. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it is important, the more stuff that's getting made. You know.
Yeah, there needs to be enough to actually create that
Yeah.
groundswell.
Exactly.
Of it, like,
Yeah.
But I think it's a really exciting time, especially for the horror genre in Ireland, because it's, you know, like one thing that I always say is that horror does thrive on low budgets, and we have such a
We
great...
have the lowest
We
budget.
have
but like we have such again, to you guys, we have such passionate passionate directors, and we have such a great workforce, and that we can literally deliver on these amazing genre films, and we can put them out there.
Yeah, it's a hard one though, like, because actually I think the fact is horror does thrive on a low budget, and yet I think it's the terrible trap for it. I don't know whether it's just in Ireland or everywhere where it's not getting the bigger money, because just because we can do well on a low budget, could you imagine what we could do with more money? There's a terrible tendency to assume that because you can make it with that small amount of money, why would I give you more? You know, I think we should be like, when I'm thinking of the next film I'm hoping to make, like, I think we need to be more ambitious. We need to be pushing those envelopes and bringing in a higher level of visuals and stuff like that as well. But like, you know, I'm not sure that there's always that understanding from the other side, because if you can make a film for, and I understand the logic of, if you can make a film for 200,000, then why not? But that extra bit of money, especially with horror, that can go on screen.
But I'm talking about movies like, you know, upwards of 2 mil, like that, which is still technically low budget.
Yeah. No, it is, but it's just for us to compete with
But-
Blumhouse type ones, because they're about between 3 and 5 is kind of what they're aiming at on a lot of their features.
No, they go as low as 2.
with a 25 million marketing
marketing
budget.
thing.
Of course, which is where, you know, a lot of their success is stemmed from. But like, I think what you're saying is very valid in that, you know, but this is the time in Irish horror, kind of in film, where the money is going to start coming in for horror films, because now the film board and like an Ireland
provided
as a whole,
those films get a return. See, that's the fear, and it's weird because whether films return or do well or not, like, really doesn't necessarily reflect on whether they're good films or not. It can depend on timing, it can depend on how well they're marketed, where people are at, and just what audiences are looking to see, you know, where things are placed time slot wise. And it's just, you know, there's that terrible tendency that if one film comes out and doesn't massively perform, there's an assumption, well, they don't want to see these kind of films, and that's not true.
It's not true,
you know.
No,
I mean, there is as well, like, even just thinking about Creep and Creep 2 as well, like, there is this thing where you do go, even if, whether it's low budget or not, a good script is like, you know, half your battle. And I mean, I know as much as for even my own stuff in the past, sometimes it's a tendency with horror, because you can do low budget, you can kind of rush out and do it quickly. And I mean, that said, he turns Creep around and Creep 2 in the space of about a year and a half, you know what I mean? So, but the
that's
scripts
after
are
years
good.
and years and years of making these super low
And learning how to do it.
feature films, and getting the script right on those old ones, and making all the mistakes.
Yeah, that's true.
So, do we want to jump onto the haunted house situations?
Yes.
You know, I know we've discussed some of these, so we probably, if we've discussed it, we mightn't get too deep. But Conor D,
You look
I'm
eager
really,
there.
really excited about this film. It came out in 1992, but it was banned for years. Okay, it's a paranormal investigating documentary, but it's a feature film, and it's fiction. But it was.
Is that the name of it?
No,
it's a really good title.
It's a really long. It's a mouthful. The title of the film is Ghostwatch.
This is the BBC one.
Yeah.
Oh,
Who has seen it?
with the
actually
guy.
haven't.
What's his name? Mark.
Parkinson is in it, and Craig Charles.
Oh wait,
Where they
it's not the
basically
actual
punked the
documentary.
world.
It's not the actual.
It was the one that was shown
documentary.
live on TV.
Yeah, so it was originally broadcast live, and people believed it was real. Okay,
Cool.
And it scared the shit out of the country. Literally, one woman rang up and said that my husband's gone and shit himself. I don't know why she thought that was a good idea to let them know, but the people were freaking out. And when you watch it, like, you would think that after, you know, it's 1992, that's like 25 years ago, basically, you'd think that it wouldn't have aged very well, but it's fucking scary, and it's really clever in that it starts off small. So since it's like live on TV and they're trying to, you know, prank people essentially, the scares are really small kind of things, like, oh, did you see that kind of thing in the background? No, I don't think so. And what do you folks at home think? And all sorts of stuff. But then it builds and builds and builds to the point that you're just like I was watching it at home in my house, and it scared the crap out of me.
I
really
love
wasn't expecting
that.
it. So then as well, you're looking at it going like, this was 7 years before the Blair Witch Project. You know, it was like 15, 20 odd years before Paranormal Activity. and because it was banned, it doesn't really get the recognition it deserves. You know, it doesn't really.
The
have
American
its place.
Shudder has it, yeah. And I don't know why it hasn't come over here.
Yeah.
Because there must be some broadcasting.
Why was it banned?
It was banned because, first of all, people were really pissed off the BBC because they felt that they had like exploited their credibility by saying, you know, everyone trusts everything that comes from the BBC because it's disrespected, like national broadcaster. But people were really pissed off, and then also a young lad killed himself after watching it because he had like, you know, like learning difficulties.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
But he killed himself because he thought he was like going to be haunted or something like that. And then he said in his suicide note, he like named Ghostwatch as like, don't worry, after watching that show, I know that I'll be able to come back like as a ghost.
That's really harsh in a TV show.
Yeah.
Like,
So everyone who's
people
involved
got
in
their
it
own
felt
issues.
so guilty, and they were like, "Oh my god, what have we done?" So it got banned. But it is a feature film. It's an hour and a half long, and it's, you know, it's been like 20 years. I think it was banned for 20 years. So aside from the kind of baggage with it, it's just a really good experience to watch, and I can't help but imagine like what must it have been like to have been sitting at home like on a Sunday night and watch that TV show, because it's done so well, and the writer was like heavily inspired by the Enfield haunting. When you're watching it, you'll see some kind of similarities between that and I think The Conjuring 2. Was that
yes.
That's
Well, yeah. It's about as loose as my mom. But yeah.
When people say the Enfield haunting, is that a movie or is that just...
That was a real thing.
No, that's what The Conjuring 2 is.
BBC did an Enfield haunting TV show around the same time as Conjuring 2 about that with...
There's clips where they're interviewing the girl or something.
It's based off...
It is, no, it's a true story. Yeah, well,
like Amity.
It was a real incident. Yeah, exactly. It's the most famous from England, from a council housing estate,
but I just think that this was so ahead of its time and just absolutely doesn't get the recognition it deserves. So I just highly recommend watching.
Cool.
What's it called again?
Ghostwatch.
Watch. Perfect.
Or Ghostwatch Live, sometimes I think it's called. But like, it's a funny one, isn't it? Like, because it sounds so bad, but like, it was a different time though as well. Like, we've become so used to, and maybe partly because of found footage and everything, like, you know, people now are so cynical that like, even when we see stuff, like I've even seen stuff in movies that I was convinced were CG scenes, and people were like, no, we went to like the ends of the earth to do that practically, and everyone watches it and thinks that's a CG moment because we just presume, you know, everything nowadays we just don't believe. How back then you would accept things a lot quicker, which is, you know, makes things a little bit harder. But I do love that, and like, I'm dying to see that, especially if it's still effective. I don't know, did anyone see as well, when it comes to just speaking of the Enfield thing and the Conjuring, the latest saga in the Conjuring and the Warrens controversy? You know, like at the moment they're being sued for like $1 billion because they didn't have the right. Well, no,
Blumhouse.
Well, it's Blumhouse, but it's also Universal, isn't it? I think because Blumhouse kind of distribute through Universal, I think, a chunk of them, but because apparently they didn't actually have the rights to the book, someone else had the rights to the Warren stories, and they were doing it, but it's gone through this court case thing at the moment, and there's all these stories coming out about Ed Warren had moved a 15-year-old girl into their house for like 20 years. He had this relationship going on with her, and that, like, all the stuff where she was used to fake some of the videos and stuff that he had, like, it's all coming out because, of course, through court cases these are the things. And there was the companies who are making these films have been encouraged not to paint the Warrens as too saintly because they were upset with the first film, which made them look that way, and then they made The Conjuring 2, where of course they sing Elvis to each other and everything, and that exasperated people's anger about it. So it's all spilling out now at the moment. And
did Patricia Arquette know about? Well, not Patricia Arquette, but you know, Mrs. Warren or whatever. Did she know about the 15-year-old girl in the basement?
She was living with. No, they were. Apparently, this is completely. And it's funny. I don't know. There's a good podcast called. I'll have to look it up. Actually, we can put it on the Facebook page. But it's a paranormal skeptics type thing. But they really discuss the case as well and everything. But they interviewed a load of people who had met the Warrens and actually had met the Warrens at the Enfield haunting. And like, these guys sounded like just really nasty pieces of work. Now again, you know, there's two sides to every story, but like, you know, all the people who believe in these kind of things seem to want to distance themselves as much as possible from these people, and it is a risky thing because of course a film is a fiction, same as like Amityville Horror is a pile of nonsense as well, but like, I don't know.
Will this affect, because I know, isn't the Irish director Karen Hardy doing the Nun or the spin-off of
yes,
that?
he is, I see, because the Nun is part of the Conjuring universe, but it's not really touch the because that was an artificial thing created, I'm pretty sure, for The Conjuring 2. So I think they're okay on those ones. But if they get caught out for not having the rights in it, like that's a massive deal because you can't take those films back. Those films have made all that money. So it'll be interesting to see because like that has become the cornerstone of Blumhouse. Really, they seem to have even abandoned the Insidious. I know there's a new Insidious film coming, but like The Conjuring seems to be the thing because even the new Annabelle was from the next chapter in the Conjuring universe. So you wonder where you go with that. Now, in fairness, it's not called the Warrens, so the Conjuring can exist in its own right. You just stop telling stories about the Warrens within it. I don't think anyone would really care particularly. Would you? Like, I don't think any of us go to see the Warrens particularly. Like, we just want to go and see a good ghost story. But it'll be interesting to see what happens. Any other haunted films? Who wants to talk?
Well, I suppose, some of these we have talked about before, so I don't know how much to go into detail.
I'll hit them quick.
I'll hit them quick. So, I mean, we've talked about The Innocents before.
That's one of your big favourites.
That is one of my favourites, I mean, very briefly, I mean, it is one of those ones where it was the first black and white film I think I turned off when I was watching it because I was scared. It scared me the first time I watched it. But that's a great film, and again, it's one of those films that has influenced, like the others, is a very much.
There's a few iconic scenes in it where you realise I have seen this in a lot of films since.
The Orphanage, I suppose, as well is another riff on it.
This is another great movie.
Even The Lodgers, the director Brian, he said himself it's a big influence. The Innocents a big influence.
I think even Dave Turpin said as well. Actually,
there's an amazing pub in LA called Rock and Riley's that uses the kid as their logo.
There you go.
Only I noticed that.
What else you get?
The Haunting, 1963,
absolutely,
which is still just. I mean, and for me, it was a film that really influenced me making films when I was younger. Because I think it's rare to see a film of that time really use camera work and really kind of use like kind of almost in the way that Evil Dead took it a step further, but it really created using sound and atmosphere and low angles, wide angles. It's rare you can look at an old film for kind of more modern day camera techniques. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
The way you'd look at a Spielberg film or these other movies. But The Haunting is full of great camera work.
But it's like, it's iconic. That reminds me again of say like what Michael Mann and Brian De Palma does. Like even just where they're looking down the stair, that kind of spiral staircase, but it's a great shot. It's almost like even when anyone playing the original like Resident Evil games, it's those dramatic angles that are really effective, and like it's great to see because I think we've lost that a little bit, and I'd love to see more of that.
Completely. We rely way too heavily on post and VFX, and it's like I mean, you need to do things on the day then and there. That's when the magic happens. That's when the atmosphere happens. That's when the horror happens.
It's amazing how it changes, isn't it? Like even whether it's a couple of inches just higher or just like the difference that can have on the tone and effect of a shot is quite amazing. Like, and I think that the danger is on when you're on such a low budget is, of course, most people want to get those things, but you're hurrying so much and you're trying to find it, but you don't really have all day to kind of just a little bit more that way.
Totally, And I mean, even just on The Innocents in terms of the camera work, what's amazing with that one is the blocking with the scenes run for about 3 or 4 minutes
they're
and
long.
the actors are moving around but it's all to do with storytelling. But again, that's a technique, and I think it's almost a technique certainly with I see it with the arrival of digital, partly because people love to stick a long lens on because it looks pretty, but it's that old technique of allowing the action in wide shots to play out, and the thing is, it looks beautiful on that old film, but it's almost this thing that we've lost, or I don't see it in films as much.
But isn't it funny, because all of that is totally valid, but then on the opposite end of that spectrum, if you think of something like Paranormal Activity, when that came out, you just had these like static, boring bedroom door shots that go on for too long and on a shitty camera, and you're like, this is terrifying.
See, I never found those boring. I never found those shots boring. I find the exterior.
I was waiting.
Like, like composition wise, they're technically boring. They're not low angle, they're not tracking, they're not like particularly cinematic, but they're scaring the crap
But it's that dead space. It's literally that silent, static, dead space where you're literally looking at everything within the frame going, what's going to move? What's going to move? Is that a shadow?
Yeah. I mean, what I'd say about them is what they both do well is they're both using your imagination. Like both those films, whether it's the wide shot, but your eyes are searching. Your eyes are searching the frame, and it's almost like there's a whole scene in Paranormal Activity that almost takes place downstairs, and you just hear the sounds, and your imagination's being engaged, and it's a different way of doing it. But like the same with The Haunting, it might do a 1 minute sort of, you're just looking at the wall, and hearing the sounds behind it. And again, I think that was why Paranormal Activity was so great, because it almost was it was in the world of horror. All the same things were happening, but it found a new way to film it, I suppose.
But you're right. It's that weird thing, because I always assumed with horror that, like, say if someone's walking through a room that we had to stay close on them because we need to like not know what's going on around us because it's scary. Because if we see a really wide shot and someone's in the middle of it, then we know there's nothing right behind them. But actually, no, that's terrifying. And like our brain kind of knows no one can appear right there, and yet it's that empty space is so scary to us. I don't know, like it's a psychological type thing. The same reason people when they go to a restaurant like to sit with their back against a wall. There's something that disturbs us about all this space that we do, and yet you're just searching it the whole time. Like even House of the Devil does that incredibly well, I think, as well, with just allowing a space to be frightening. Yeah, your brain
fills it up with the deep dark ghoulies.
Yeah, which is always going to be worse, isn't it, than the stuff. But if you're as twisted as us.
And then just because we're talking about film techniques, it's really worth. I don't know if anybody's listened to the Changeling DVD commentary, because actually that commentary is like, it's rare a director goes through sometimes it's anecdotal, do you know what I mean? Whereas he's talking about the camera techniques, where he positioned the camera, why, how he used, because the camera in that sometimes will float into the scene, but he was trying to, it was almost the ghost, if you will, walking in. But it's a really good commentary because it's all about the technical side of things.
God, I have to listen. That's on the top of my list, The Changing. I love that movie so
I'll
much.
bring in Mark's DVD for you.
No, I'll take that back. But no, I agree, because like when you get it's so rare, because I get jaded with comedies because I love them when they're amazing. Because some people talk really honestly, and then other ones, like listening to William Friedkin on The Exorcist one, like he literally just describes what's happening in every scene, and you're like, I can see the film, William. Like, But it's just, I don't know. There's a few, I think even actually Jason X, just as a curveball there, if you want, is a good document. Or not actually Jason X, sorry, Jason Goes to Hell. Because your man really opens up about all the challenges and the problems they have with the studio and stuff. And it's lovely to hear someone talking straight. Yeah. Or even like, again, slightly off topic, but I was watching the restored Blu-ray of Fargo the other day. Beautiful looking Blu-ray. But the commentaries from Roger Deakins. But like he talks about, like, even the opening shot, he's kind of goes, I didn't get to shoot this, we were off shooting a chat scene, so I just sent out an AD to get this, and like he's totally honest. Or even this one, we were going to have, that amazing iconic shot where it's the snow and the car just pulls in, it's from above. Like that, they had 50 cars to bring in there, and they'd everyone there, they brought all of these cars, and on the day they're kind of, it looks kind of nice without it. Like, so it's just lovely to hear that truth of how you actually made something, instead of just always presuming that they're just geniuses who just figured this would be perfect from the outset. What else have we got? I presume there's a House on Haunted Hill remake.
House on Haunted Hill remake, obviously we've talked about it before. The Haunting remake, talked about it before. Like the
Haunting remake, as in that it's bad.
I love it.
I'm giving you the benefit of the doubt on the House on Haunted Hill. I'm not sure about the Haunting remake.
I mean, no, it's really good.
Okay.
Luke Wilson gets his head taken off by a chimney flue.
I don't know that sells.
No, and Hugh Crane, like it's that kind of late 90s reboot of horrors, which I loved all of them.
Well, yeah, it was Hollywood doing bigger budget stuff at that time,
Yeah, they worked really well. And then I have 1408.
Oh,
which I love. Groundhog Day for horror films.
I feel the book worked better.
I haven't read the book.
It's worth it. Like, I know it's definitely. But see, again, just some of these things are easier to accept. Like when you show anything in a film, it's how realistic is that or not. But like, 1408, I thought the first 40 minutes as it's building up to it is just fantastic. Because like I was watching that in the cinema, I was afraid of him going into that room because Samuel L. Jackson gives him that wonderful speech where he just like, I will do anything for you not to go into this room.
But then he opens the minibar. Samuel L. Jackson's in the minibar.
Yes, it does get a bit more surreal as it goes on.
Yeah, which I absolutely love. And then I just want to shout out, this is not technically a horror film, but Muppet Christmas Carol.
Oh, there's ghosts in it.
There is
I love that
Jacob and Marley as ghosts.
Marley and Marley.
It's phenomenal. There's some really scary scenes in that movie. So obviously there's the ghost of Christmas Future, the original Dementor.
He is always terrifying.
He's horrifying. And then there's the spider who's like Bill Sykes down the alleyway. Oh, what are these? Oh, these are lovely sheets. Oh yeah, I'll get a pretty penny for these. And he's got 8 legs, and he starts tickling one of the prostitute Muppets. Like, there's some great horror in that. Then
I have to watch that again.
It's so good. 13 Ghosts as well. I mean, again, all these 90s.
Like 13 Ghosts. I like the house is amazing. The effects are great. I love the concept. I rewatching it recently because I have it at home on DVD. There are weak elements to it, but there's a lot of good stuff in there as well. Like, and all those different characters are quite cool.
All the ghosts. I mean, the special features when you got to see, they did like a little mini documentary about all of the ghosts.
I haven't seen this film.
It's amazing.
Oh, you enjoy that? I'll lend it.
It's like F. Murray Abraham,
the remake in the 90s.
Tony Shalhoub.
Who directed it?
I don't know.
He actually did something else, but I'll lend it.
It's 2001. It's like the last dregs of those kind of horror remakes.
It didn't get that much attention, and like unfairly, I have it on a triple bill with Darkness Falls and the Night of the Living Dead remake. You know what? There's stuff to enjoy. You'll get a good kick out of it. Again, it was when Hollywood used to make these things where they were kind of, you go to have fun at the cinema. They weren't trying to make it Texas Chainsaw Massacre but it's quite like the ghosts are pretty brutal looking.
They are. I mean, the jackal, is
he the real scary one with the cage?
He's the one with the cage, and then there's the Juggernaut who literally bends Matthew Lillard in half.
The concept basically, sorry, just for people who are wondering, I'm
fangirling over
this house has been built by this man, and inside it are
by F. Murray Abraham.
Yes, and it locks itself up. It's this beautiful glass house that turns into an armored thing, and inside it are 12 separate ghosts, but they're all contained. All the glass walls have inscripted
barriers
cursors or whatever. So the ghosts can't pass through these because they can pass through normal walls, but they can't pass through these. But they all get released, and these guys are stuck in the house with these, and they're all very different personality ghosts attacking them. And you know what? There's just entertainment
to be had.
Are
they floating around?
Only when you're wearing the cool glasses. No, there's good stuff to be had. Actually, and it's weird. On a slightly side note, has anyone seen Abattoir?
No.
This is Darren Lynn Bousman's one of his more recent films. So it's Darren Lynn Bousman who did Saw 2, 3 and 4, Repo the Genetic Opera, and a couple of other things. But I remember him talking it up. I think it was probably on the Shockwaves podcast at some stage, and I was like, "That's a great concept." And I watched it. And it's not a great film, but the concept's amazing because again, it's.
I wrote it down and now I'm crossing it out.
It's weird because it's such a great idea that I almost want someone to make it, because it's the whole idea of someone trying to build their own murder house. So there's these places where these vicious murders have happened, and the police arrive to investigate them, and the room where the murder happened has been ripped out of the house. And the whole concept is someone is building a house with all these murder rooms to try and create the ultimate haunted house.
Oh my God,
I know. I was so... And when you watch the film, you're just so disappointed with where they go with it and how badly... I actually like the Saw film, so I actually quite like Darren Bousman's ability. He's very visual and he's got good sense. Just didn't work for me on this one. But as far as a concept goes, I just kind of love that. There's just something so creepy about the idea, and it's stitched together with all these odd and uneven matching bits. I don't know, there's just something quite cool there. So, could be worth giving it a go. Good concept.
And I'm just going to throw in as well a haunting in Connecticut. I love the Victorian era. I love the fact that people used to do seances. I mean, again, how many times have I said to you guys, let's do a freaking seance?
And some nice kind of creepy reality, revelations later on in that film.
Yeah, I mean, because the main character, he has cancer, which is the reason they moved to this house. And so he's, there's that moment at the start of the movie where you're kind of like, is this an effect of the chemo that he's getting done? And then it's like, no, it's actual. He lives in a morgue.
Eyelids.
There's the box of eyelids.
But yeah, so I would say definitely check that out. I know we need to wrap this up. We've talked a lot about Legend of El House. I would just say definitely watch it. It's great.
That's amazing.
Obviously, Poltergeist. For me, again, everyone's seen it, but do rewatch it. I've heard some people. I think it was Elric Kane actually talking about recently, where he said he was quite disappointed rewatching it, or maybe Rob on.
Maybe he just watched the Sam
But you're kind of going.
one.
I still think that really stands up. Actually, for me, it does.
Poltergeist is amazing.
What I love. Oh, go on. Sorry.
No.
Well, what I love about Poltergeist is how they react initially to the ghosts. It's so it's just the way they're almost excited, and she's putting the kid down and flying across the floor. It's just such a unique reaction.
That's it. They actually enjoy. There's an exploration moment of it instead of just going straight to thing, which I think is great. And another one, just the original Ju-ons, the original Grudge films. When I first saw them, genuinely scared the hell out of me. The Japanese ones. Watching them again now, because they are just sort of relying on that creepy tension. And once you get beyond that, there isn't a massive amount more. But you know what? They're very effective for what they were. And the simplicity of it again, they don't have big CGI effects, and yet that little kid and your one,
CGI effects.
When she appears out from underneath the bed covers, scared the hell out of me. Scared the hell out of me, and like obviously Ringu as well.
And everybody, just because I can't hammer it home enough, just go out and check the BBC horror series, A Ghost Story for Christmas.
I started watching those this week.
Aren't they phenomenal?
They're good.
They're amazing.
I watched Lost Hearts.
Did you?
We don't have time to talk about this.
I mean, a little bit.
Oh yeah, we don't have time to talk about it. It is a little bit dated, but I mean, like I grew up with that movie on VHS, recorded off the BBC in the 70s. So like, I mean, it is but it still holds up.
The rest of them. I'm totally gonna watch the rest of them.
Whistle and I'll Come to You is amazing.
That's great.
Yeah, it's
That's
amazing.
the better one, I'd say.
And obviously the Treasure of Rabbit Thomas, like amazing. Oh yeah, it's great. There's a slime monster in it.
I love slime monsters. They're my favorite.
And before we wrap it, there's a quick wrap run for Christmas horrors. 1 or 2 recommendations, guys. What do you got to do?
Well, I would also say The Innkeepers. I'm just going to throw it in there.
Yeah,
TUS. Yeah.
Has anyone seen? Is it You Better Watch Out? Is that
Not
out
yet.
At the moment?
I'm looking forward to it.
I haven't seen it.
Good word.
I hear good.
Yeah,
things
I hear good things as well. There's that one, and is it Red Christmas? Is a very nasty kind of Australian one. I think
is now. Is that the one with Dee Wallace?
Yes.
Yeah.
I've only heard about it, but
I want to watch.
It sounds pretty nasty. We'll talk about it off mic, but it goes places. But yeah, I think definitely that. Like for me on the classic, it's Black Christmas is honestly one of the best horror films ever made. Not just Christmas horror films. You've got to watch it. It's genuinely still disturbs me, and of course Elves, which is just.
Oh my god! I forgot about it.
Don't watch Elves, people.
It is amazing.
There's the Creep Show. Is it Creep Show 2? The Santa Claus.
I'm not sure I ever watched Creep Show 2.
Ooh, it's great.
Yeah.
Krampus.
Krampus.
Yeah.
That's with the Adam Scott one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it was good.
And on that happy note, folks.
The wine speaks the truth.
I know, the wine speaks the truth. Merry Horrormas.
Merry everything.
Merry
Happy
Horrormas.
Christmas, everyone. We'll see you in the new year.
Or no, wait, as Stephen said, Happy Horror Days.